settling into nice, comfy, easy stance, allowing a little softness to the knees, a little softness to the spine, shoulders nice and relaxed. And starting to let your awareness come all the way down to the soles of your feet and just beginning to really find and feel that connection. So any movement that you like in the feet, rocking more weight side to side, forward or back, or opening up the toes. Imagine those feet spreading out, rooting down, and then keeping that baby bend into the knees. Imagine pressing the soles of the feet a little more firmly down and trying to find a little more active spine, just a little more length. Let those shoulders roll up, back, and down. Take just a little more length to the back of the neck. And then soften the gaze or close the eyes. And first taking a moment as we soften gaze or close eyes, noticing how that changed the sensation at the soles of the feet, or if it did. If it changed any sensation of balance or anything else that shifted anywhere else in the body. And then again, tuning in to the soles of the feet, coming back to maybe a little bit of movement, widen the toes, bend and stretch the knees. Finding that sense of grounding, long spine, long back of the neck. And starting to cultivate a gentle observation of your breath here. So not shifting anything, just watching. What are the qualities of your breath as you are arriving on your mat? Pausing here to just observe for a moment without judgment. And then counting your inhale, counting your exhale. And beginning to expand. So adding a second or two to that next in-breath. And then lengthening the out-breath as well. Invitation to make it slightly longer than the in-breath. If it feels good with each cycle, maybe you expand another half a second or so. Taking one more deep inhale here. Full exhale. And then staying with a nice full breath, but let it return to a length that feels manageable. And then we'll blink the eyes fully open. Rest the hands to the hips for a moment. And then imagine all your weight coming over to your left foot, so much so that your right foot almost floats up off of your mat, but not quite. Find your balance on that side for just a brief moment. And then rock through center. Let all your weight come over to that right foot, coming so far. Left foot almost lifts, but not quite. And coming back through center, rocking forward onto your toes, so much that your heels are really light. Heels almost lift, not quite. And rocking back through center, weight to the heels, don't fall. Rock back, toes almost lift, not quite. And rocking back to find neutral. Either keeping the feet where they are if that feels good, or bringing the feet just a little bit wider. We'll use the hands to guide the hips in some circles one direction. And again, noticing here the shifts in points of connection at the feet. Where does the weight land in your feet as it comes more toward one side, toes, heels, other side. And if it feels all right in hips and spine, go ahead and exaggerate that movement, really bringing your hips forward, wide, and back. Switching directions. And coming all the way back to center, let that center of the pelvis land right over the space between the center of the feet. And then we'll again bring all our weight over to our left foot. This time we'll lift our right foot. We're going to slide it out just in front of us. And then imagining that outer edge, outer perimeter of your foot, we're going to trace that edge around the mat. So grounded and balanced through your left foot, connect the inner edge of your right foot, and then lift everything else. So just the heel is connected, outer edge of the foot comes down, toes are connected, and tracing that circle, not circle, outer edge shape of the foot going around that direction. Notice the movement in your ankle, in your knee, in your hip, and switch directions. And let that foot come back to stillness. Slide it back to its starting position. Ground down through the sole of that foot. Left foot slides a little ways in front of us. Connect just the inner edge of the foot. Everything else lifts. Toes, outer edge, heel. Moving that direction. Switching directions. And finding stillness, letting that foot slide back to starting shape. And then we'll bring the feet out a little while wider, turn the heels in just a little bit, toes turn out, and we'll come into a side stretching flow here. So leaning to the right, take a little bend into that right knee, keep the left sole of the foot connected, reach the left hand overhead, stretch through that whole left side. Floating back through center, both knees straight but not locked. The left hand finds the hip, bending left knee, leaning, stretch right side. Flowing side to side. Keep it nice and slow if you like, thinking more about the stretch or finding a faster rhythm. Finding one or two more so you're balanced. And we'll heel toe the feet back in to a nice comfortable stance or to a mountain pose. And then release the hands down beside the hips. Rotate the palms out to face the sides of your space. Grounded through the feet, little bend into the knees. Sweep the hands up overhead. Shoulder distance between the palms, gazing up through the fingers. Rotate those palms out at the top, bring them down to face the outer parts of the thighs. Rotate out at the bottom and lift, little back bend. Rotate out at the top and lower. Next time those hands are overhead, we'll pause, hands reaching. Shoulder distance between the palms, facing one another. Bring yourself back to neutral spine, so crown of the head pointing straight up. And we'll find a little twist here, so you may play around with where your feet are. It may feel better to have them a little bit wider. We're gonna twist the heart open to the right, float those hands down so they're parallel to the earth, or they could come down a little lower, and then twist back through center, lift, twist opposite side and lower. And finding one or two more, finding symmetry. Back through center, and then bring the hands down through heart center. Let the hands rest back to the hips for a moment, and we'll slide the left foot forward to find warrior one. So if you landed very near the top of your mat, take a little scoop back. We'll ground through the sole of the right foot, step or slide that left foot out. Connect that foot, bend the knee, and then turn those right toes out just a little bit so you find that about 45-degree angle at the foot. Check in with that hip alignment here, and then we're just going to do a little lift and lower. So keeping the hands where they are for a moment, press into that front foot, straighten the knee, feel a little more weight rock back into your right heel, and then come forward, bend that front knee. Staying here, a few more rounds, or bringing the hands up overhead, and as you press into that front foot and straighten the knee, float the hands down alongside the hips. Landing back in a warrior one, either fingertips reaching or hands to hips. If fingertips are reaching, we're just gonna keep the biceps framing the ears. If they're at the hips, they're just gonna stay right where they are. We're gonna take a little lean forward and lift into an arrow pose. So press off of that left foot, straighten the knee, and let your right foot almost lift so your toes are just barely connected. Your torso is leaning forward. Again, hands to the hips or overhead. And then just find a little lifted lower with that right foot. Bring it all the way back down. We're gonna come all the way back to that warrior one. So again, hands just come with you, stay alongside biceps, stay alongside ears, or hands are still down to the mat. We'll rock all the way back to the connection of that right heel. And then we're gonna bring ourselves back a little bit and slide back into a mountain. So press into that front foot, straighten the knee. Find nearly all your weight in your right foot, and then start to slide your left foot back. Turn those right toes back in so you're back in standing. Slide the hands down beside the hips, rotate the palms out. Take one big lift of the hands overhead, palms facing one another. Rotate palms out at the top. Back to neutral spine, hands come to the hips. And then finding opposite side. So ground through that left foot, slide or step that right foot forward. Take a moment to check in, adjust the back foot, find the length of your stance, find the width of your stance, find your square, neutral pelvis. Go ahead and bring the hands up overhead if you like, or trying a few hands to hips, pressing into front foot, knee straightens, and coming back down. If you're still hands to hips and you like, maybe hands reach. Coming forward, warrior one, biceps framing the ears or hands to hips. Lean forward, bend that right knee a little more, launch off of that leg. Lift the back foot, toes are just barely connected to the floor, and then a little lift and lower of the back leg. Connect those toes, start to rock your way all the way back. Bend into that right knee, bring all your weight back into your left leg. Lean back, slide that right foot back, plant it. Adjust your left foot again so it's parallel. And we're gonna dive all the way over to forward fold. So if hands are hips, starting to swing them down. If they're overhead, we're gonna bring them wide. Coming all the way over, full forward fold, releasing the knees and spine, crown dangling down toward your floor. Sweep fingertips to opposite elbows. Take a little side to side rock. Finding stillness in center. Release hands down toward the mat. Press into the feet to lengthen the knees, lengthen the spine. Half forward fold, opening the sits bones. Back toward the wall behind you. Crown growing long from tail. Releasing back down. Forward fold, soft knees, soft spine. Bring fingertips to opposite elbows with the opposite forearm in front. And then take a little side to side movement. Finding stillness in center. Release the hands. We'll bring left palm or fingertips down to the floor in front of our gaze, or grab your block. Bring the floor a little closer with your block. Finding a nice bend to the knees. Twist the heart open to the right as you more deeply bend the left knee. Slide your right hand to your hip or send it overhead. Coming right into a little flow here. Slide or sweep right hand down. Switch. Opposite. Slow twist. Side to side. Finding one more time, opening up to that left side. And then we'll find our forward fold. Soft spine, crown dangling, arm dangling, ragdoll up, find standing. Nice long spine at the top, grounded through the soles of the feet. Inhale, sweep the hands wide and overhead. Let the palms meet. Exhale to send your hips back and down and find chair, drawing the hands to heart center. Coming right into a lift and lower here, pressing into the feet, inhaling the hands wide, lift, palms meet, hips coming back and down, hands through heart center. So again, this could stay really slow, controlled movement. If you like, you could make it a little faster. Next time you reach long, we'll pause. Long spine, palms gently resting together overhead. And then flowing side to side here. Keeping hips more or less in the center of the mat. Take a little side stretch to the right, fingertips reaching toward the corner of your room. Lifting through center, little side stretch opposite. Fingertips reach, lift center, side bend. Taking one more little side bend, open to the left. And pausing, center, bending into the knees, sweeping the hands wide, diving over, forward fold. We're gonna connect the hands and step back to table. So check in with where you landed on your mat. Bringing hands down to your block or your floor, coming back onto the knees. Untucking the toes. And then checking in with that connection at the fingertips and palms, finding nice active there at the knees, shins and tops of the feet. And then imagine pressing the earth away with all 10 fingers and both palms, trying to lift your spine up away from your shoulder blades. And then let your heart soften down toward the space between your thumbs, letting yourself fall into those shoulders just a little bit, spine falling down between the shoulder blades. Press, lift the spine, feel a subtle stretch across the upper back. And release, lower the heart down. Take one more time each direction, and then try to find space right in the center. So we're still active in the shoulders, spine and shoulder blades in alignment. Crown of the head is growing long from tailbone, sits bones gently opening up and back toward the space behind you. Take a nice deep inhale here, and then exhale, round up into your cat stretch. If you like, you can tuck the feet, press into the toes as you lift, and then lower the belly, open the heart, maybe untuck the toes. And flowing here as feels good. So again, nice slow pace, really feeling the movement, feeling the stretch, or find a slightly faster rhythm. And then if it's comfortable for you, go ahead and fully close your eyes. Notice if that changes sensation. Move a few more times here through this very familiar movement, but perhaps this changes it just a little bit. Taking one more time, lowering the belly, opening the heart. Find your neutral, open the eyes. And then flowing into some lateral flexion, side bends here. So navel's gonna stay pretty much right over the center of our mat. We'll bring head, hips, and right foot out to the right. Glance back at the foot. Bring everything back through center. Head, hips, foot come out to the left. Glance back at the foot. Moving side to side. Keep it nice and slow. Feeling the movement of the spine or other parts of the body. Maybe move a little faster. And again, if it feels okay, go ahead and fully close the eyes. Imagine you're glancing back at that foot as you bend. Does that shift sensations in the body or otherwise? Taking one more opening up to the left. Find your neutral. Open the eyes, and then we'll come into a quadruped twisting flow here. So I will leave it up to you if you would like to stay right here in quadruped, all 4 points connected, or if you would like to slide your right foot back, bring it all the way out to the side, and then flip your right toes to point toward the top of your ceiling. So either way, twisting flow, opening to the right, staying grounded in that left hand, lifting the heart open, lifting the fingers, gazing past that hand, sliding back to starting position. Either hand rests to its starting position for a moment, or we briefly draw it under left arm. And if you like, take a few eyes closed. Taking one more reach, twist high, bringing yourself back to your starting shape, opening up the eyes, just kind of checking in, finding your alignment. If that right leg is out to the right side, go ahead and bring it back. Moving towards second side, quadruped, or left foot comes out to the left side, toes pointed toward the top of your mat. And opening up to the left, floating the hand high, turning the heart down, hand to starting position, or briefly send it under right arm. Perhaps closing the eyes. And one more lift. Lower, find your foundation, adjust yourself back to tabletop if you're not there already. Bring the knees just a little bit wide. Let the toes come in toward the center of the mat. Send the hips toward the heels. We're kind of halfway between child's pose and wide knee child's pose. Letting those hips sink back as far as is comfortable. Softening through spine, head, neck, shoulders. And then tenting the hands, fingertips press down, center of the palms lift. Sliding hands around toward the back of your mat. Make two tight fists. Circle the wrists one direction. Other direction. Release the fist, give the hands a little shake. Slide them long, extended child's pose, activating the palms. We're gonna lift back up, but keep those knees just a little bit wide. Flowing child's pose in an elliptical shape. So our navel is gonna trace a little ellipse on the mat. We're gonna pull the hips over to the left, rock back toward a child's pose. Those hips roll across at the bottom, come to the right, lift. Pulling left, rock back, right, and lift. Taking a few more this direction, so closing the eyes if you would like. Coming to the top, pause, switch directions. Rocking all the way back to that child's pose and pause, letting hips sink fully down, spine release, head, neck, shoulders relax. Activating the palms, pressing back up toward table. This time we'll bring the knees back in line with the hips. Ground through that left knee and shin. We'll slide the right leg back behind us. And then allow yourself to feel the hips square to the earth for a moment as you lift the leg. So trying to keep the two sides of the pelvis, the glutes level. See if you could lift that leg in the direction of parallel to the earth. Pull the toes in, reach the heel away. Really activate all 10 fingers, both palms. And then allow those right toes to point, that right hip to lift a little bit, and then take those right toes with movement coming from your hip joint. Draw some big circles in the air. Switch directions. And allow those toes to come back down beside the hip. We're gonna bring that right leg all the way out to the right side. Let it be perpendicular to the torso, toes pointing toward the front of your mat. Just for a moment, just to notice sort of where that foot is in space. Then we'll slide it all the way back behind the hip. And we're gonna bring it across the left leg, just off the left side of the mat. Again, just for a moment, kind of feel where it is in space. And then we're gonna lift that leg and arc it back behind us, and it's gonna come out to the right. It probably won't go quite as far as when we moved it the other way, but we're reaching in that direction. So lift the leg behind you, arc it, let it come just a little higher than the glute. Let it come over to the right and tap down. Lifts, comes behind you, over to the left and tap down. Next time it comes over to the left, we'll let it stay. And then take a little side bend into the spine, bringing your gaze to that foot. Bringing the gaze forward, foot back behind the hip, knee comes down. Take a moment to wiggle in any way that feels good. Wrists, hips, spine. And finding your quadruped, hips square to the earth, slide that left foot back. And again, see if you could find lift to that leg, trying to keep glutes level, toes pulling in, heel reaching. And then point the toes, open the hips to the side a little, take those toes, draw some circles in the air, moving one direction. Switch directions. And we already know where we're going this side, so we're just gonna come right into our arcs. So let that foot come all the way over to the right, crossing the right foot, toes touch down. Lift, arc behind you, leg a little higher than the glute, coming to the left, touch down. Next time it comes over to the right, we'll let it rest. Bring the gaze all the way around to that foot. Take a little side bend to the spine. Gaze comes forward. Foot back in line with the hip. Bring that knee down to right. Meet the right. Move in any way that feels good. And then we will send the hips back toward the heels and come into kneeling. So if you have props handy and you like props between hips and heels to support kneeling, go ahead and grab a block for the sits bones, a rolled up blanket to come between, or a bolster to come between. And finding your hero. Hips grounded down into your prop or resting down toward your heels, long spine. We're gonna interlace the fingers at the base of the skull. And then take a little flow to the spine here, leading with our elbows. So drawing the navel to the spine, round and look down. Imagine those elbows trying to touch one another in front of your head. And then opening through the heart. Imagine those elbows will try to touch one another behind you. Rounding to look down. Opening the heart to look up. Taking one more stretch back, opening the heart. And then find your neutral, unlace the fingers, bring the hands down beside the hips. Take a few shoulder shrugs, rolling the shoulders back. Switch directions, rolling the shoulders forward. Letting the hands rest wherever's comfortable for a moment. Lengthen the neck. Slow, lower chin to chest. half neck rolls, side to side, chin and ear drawing toward one shoulder and then the other. If it feels comfortable, open up to a full neck circle, going a couple times one direction, and then switch a couple times other direction. And letting the chin come all the way down to the chest. Lift the head all the way back up. Find your long spine, and then we'll bring the fingertips to the caps of the shoulders, elbows pointing right out to the sides. And now we'll use these elbows to lead us into a little bit of a twist. So opening your heart to the right, right elbow draws back, left elbow draws forward, twisting back to that starting shape, and twisting opposite side. See if your shoulders are trying to climb up into your ears here. And if they are, let them be a little softer. And then find one or two more, again, so you're symmetrical. And then we'll pause and center. We're gonna do one more thing with the hands here, but if the arms need a little break, you can release them down and give them a little shake. And fingertips back to the caps of the shoulders. We're trying to be soft in the sides of the neck, soft in the trap, so shoulders are relaxed down. And then take your elbows, start to draw some circles in the air. Check in here if it feels good, exaggerating the size of those circles. Switch directions. And letting the arms rest down, hands release down beside the hips. Take a few shoulder shrugs either direction or give the arms a nice little shake. And hands to thighs. Walking hands out in front of the knees. We'll lift back to our tabletop. Scoop props out of the way as needed. Send your hands just a little further forward than your shoulders. Tuck the toes, float the tailbone, find your downward facing dog. Building that upside down V, sits bones opening up and back. And then slow pedaling the feet here, even slower than you would normally go. Really feeling into that movement in the feet, ankles, knees, hips, spine, maybe shoulders, maybe close your eyes. Finding stillness, floating eyes fully open. Ground through the left foot. Lift your right leg back for three-leg dog or tail of the dog. Don't think about hip alignment. Just let your legs stretch back long in any way that feels good. Could be square, could be not. Could be reaching through the toe, could be reaching through the heel, but it's reaching long behind you. And then if you're not there already, open those hips to the right a little. And then we'll bend the knee, let the heel fall behind. Take that right knee. Big circles in the air, one direction. Switch directions. Extend that leg. Bring it back down to meet the left. Slow paddle the feet. Finding stillness. Left leg rises. Just let it rise back in whatever way feels good. Don't think about it. And then wherever it lands, just take a moment to notice, is it the same as the opposite side? Is it different? And then we'll
Open the hips to the left if we're not there already. Bend the knee, heel falls back, knee circles one direction. Switch directions. And reach the leg long. Bring it down to meet the right. Slow pedal the feet. Finding stillness. Right leg rises again. This time we'll step it forward to find a high lunge. Stepping toward the hands. Maybe right hand comes to support. Bringing ankle under knee. Stepping hands up to front thigh for a moment while you find your balance, or bringing those arms right overhead. Take you just a moment here. Check in, adjust as needed. And then we'll open up to find Warrior Two, opening hips and heart. Up to the left, rotate those back toes out and down. Hands float down, gazing past the fingers of the right hand. And then we'll press into that front foot, turn the hands palm face up, straighten the knee, bring the fingertips overhead, gazing through the fingers. Bending back into that front knee, hands float down. And lift and lower. And lifting once more, lowering back into Warrior Two and pause. And then we'll bring ourselves back to a high lunge. So heel toe that back foot in just a little bit. Sweep the back hand across the thigh. Pick up that heel, rotate hips back to face the front of the mat. We'll bring the hands down to frame the front foot. Draw yourself right back to a down dog if you like, or back through a three-leg dog, letting that right leg reach long for a moment. And then bringing it back down. Slow pedal the feet. And from stillness, left leg rises. Bring it forward, find your high lunge. And opening up to the side, find your Warrior Two. Floating, palms face up, press into that front foot, straighten the knee, gazing through the fingers as they meet overhead. Lifting once more, landing in that Warrior Two and pause. Adjust the palms to face the floor. Heel toe that right foot in just a little bit. Back arm sweeps across the thigh. Pivot, hips square to the front. Hands come down to frame the front foot. Right to downward facing dog or three-leg dog to downward facing dog. Slow lower both knees all the way down onto the mat. Untuck the toes. We'll come down onto our bellies to find cobra. So either hands slide out a little or scoot yourself back a bit first. Hands come out slightly, hips come forward and down. Eye of the elbow pointing forward. Slow lower heart down toward the space between the fingers. Slide the heart forward, belly finds the earth. Pull elbows toward the back of your space. Lift the crown and lower. Lift and lower here using the low back. And the next time you lift, take a little pause, and then we'll cross the forearms across one another at the top of the mat. Rest the forehead down onto the forearms. Bend at the knees, point the soles of the feet toward your ceiling, and windshield wiper the legs side to side. Lift the feet, extend, straighten the legs, lift the head, slide the hands back under the shoulders, press back up toward half plank, lift the hips a little through tabletop, widen the knees here if you like, and then pull the hips toward the heels, finding a version of child's pose, wide or not. Softening hips toward heels. Slow walking hands over toward the right side of your mat. Lift your left hand, reach it across the right wrist. Slow walk back through center. Walking opposite side, right hand reaches across the left. Slow walk center. We'll move a few more times here, side to side. And the next time the hands walk over to the right, cross the wrists and pause. Releasing spine, head, neck, shoulders, breath. Activating the hands, coming through center, find that little side stretch opposite direction, and surrendering to it for a moment. Coming through center, and we'll lift up through kneeling and come around to a seat. Sending the legs around and in front of you and finding a seated bound angle. Props under the sits bones if you like. Soles of the feet resting together, knees drawing out to the side. Ground down through your sits bones, find a nice long spine.
And then start to fold forward as far as you can go without rounding. Pause, take a breath. And then surrendering here, softening through the spine, melting head, shoulders down toward the feet. And lifting up just halfway, so still a little folded forward, but coming back to that neutral spine. We'll take the left hand to the feet or just in front of the feet. Twist the heart open to the right. Bring your right hand wide and then back behind you, gazing past your fingers. Twist your heart back down toward your feet. Sweep that right hand down. Switch the places of the hands. Open to the opposite side. Left hand reaches. And back through center. Open to the right. Moving side to side at a rhythm that feels good. And taking one more, opening up to the left. Find your way back to neutral, sliding or walking the hands in, and we'll lean back a little, bring the hands to the floor behind you. Start to lift the knees and then bring the heels wide so they're about as wide as the edge of your mat, and then seated windshield wiper the legs. And lift the knees. Bring the heels in so they're about the same width as your hip joints, and we'll come down onto our backs, so adjust yourself as needed. Keeping a bend into the knees, soles of the feet flat. Bring palms face down on either side of the hips, lifting toward a bridge. Activating the palms, activating the feet, lengthening your tailbone toward your heels, and then slow press up. Find the top of your bridge. Feet are active, legs are active, maybe glutes are activated, but the head and face and neck are relaxed. Really find your foundation in your legs so you can start to slow lift the hands. Lifting arms alongside the spine. And then we're going to continue to bring them up, fingertips pointed up toward your ceiling. And then bringing them back behind you until biceps frame the ears. Lifting them up, fingertips point for your ceiling. Floating them down just until they meet the spine. Lifting again, fingertips to ceiling. And drawing them back. Find this lift and lower with the arms, or arc with the arms as you stay in this nice firm bridge in the lower body. And then the next time the hands come down alongside the spine, we'll let them come all the way down to our mat. Activating the arms, activating the palms, slow lower, spine, all the way down. Lift bent knees into the belly. Take a rocking on the low back or draw some knee circles. And finding stillness. Left sole of the foot comes down, right ankle finds left thigh. Lift the legs like you're moving toward a figure four stretch, but just far enough to get your right hand to your right knee and your left hand to your left knee. And guiding those knees in some circles, legs moving together. Switching directions. And let those legs find stillness and bring them all the way in to find a figure four stretch. So maybe you're already there, you stay here. Maybe you draw those legs in a little closer. Hands could come to your hamstring or your shin. You could rest your foot down onto a block. Slow release this side. Let that left foot come back down. Unwind the right. And then pause for a moment here. Take some windshield wipers or press into another little bridge. And then from stillness, left ankle, right thigh. Lift the legs just enough to find that connection with your hands. And circling the legs one direction. Switch directions. Finding stillness, moving into your version of a stretch here. Release this side, right sole of the foot comes down. Unwind the left. Take a little movement here to recenter. Windshield wipers, little bridge. And then take that moment to really pause, observe, check in. Is there anything we did not move today that would feel really good to move it, or a stretch that would feel really great right now? One last posture that you would like to bring your practice to a close. Honor whatever that may be, whatever feels right for you in the moment. And then finding your way to whatever posture you would like to enjoy for a moment of stillness. As you soften and surrender down into your relaxed shape, scanning through the body, noticing if there's any places that don't quite want to relax. And with a few easy breaths, could you invite a little more softness, a little more ease, allowing all those soft tissues to fully let go, joints and bones to rest. The breath to be really easy, and the mind to be soft and still. Inviting a conscious awareness to the sensation of the breath at the low belly. Taking a really deep, expansive inhale through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. Another nice deep breath in. Open mouth, let it go. And then beginning to create some movement in the body. Wrists, ankles, head side to side. Maybe you're rocking shoulders or hips or finding a full body stretch. And then starting to make your way toward a knees to chest pose, hugging those bent knees into the belly. And then allowing those knees to take you over to one side, finding your fetal position. Slow pressing up, settling into an easy seat for a moment. Rooting down through the sits bones, long but soft spine, heavy eyelids or eyes closed. And once again, scanning through the body, taking inventory. What do you notice at the end of your practice? What feels different? What feels the same? What might you like to take off of your mat out into the rest of your day? With eyes fully open, bringing the hands to heart center. Thank you. Thank you for sharing part of your day with me.